So Alhamdulillah, it's wonderful to be in your midst, and all of these sisters have gathered. May Allah allow your coming here to be blessed and allow us to speak about something that is beneficial and useful and not a waste of your Friday afternoon. MashaAllah, many of you must have come from different places, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that your coming here, your time isn't wasted. There are multiple things that we could be speaking about right now. Multiple things we could be speaking about right now. But in the next 15-20 minutes or however long we have, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to speak about something which is inshallah beneficial to all of us. Inshallah. So, the system that we have, the world continues to change. Our world that we're in continues to change in terms of the facilities that we have. I came back to India after the beginning of 2020. So it's been about just over 3 years, about 3.5 years. And in 3.5 years after COVID, many things have changed. The world has changed. So the world continues to change. However, there are some fundamentals which never change. We fundamentally as human beings, as insan, that never changes. Our access to technology, our access to different facilities, transport facilities, communication facilities, and so on, all of that changes. But the human being never changes. Our ultimate goal doesn't change. Our life in this world is written. That doesn't change. However, we can make our life more constructive, more productive, or we can just keep pursuing the new things which are dangled in front of our eyes. यानी हमारे सामने जो लटकाया जाता है कि ये अच्छी चीज़ है, ये नई चीज़ है, और बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ें जिसका कोई रिसर्च नहीं हुआ है, हम ही उसके रिसर्च है. फिर 5, 10, 15 साल के बाद फिर पता चलेगा कि इसका नुकसान क्या था. और बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ें, there's a lot of things whose harm is already being seen, but for the harm to be recognized and for something to be done about it takes a much longer time. People start speaking about the harms, but then only when it starts causing major harm and think tanks and other ideologues make that an issue, and then politicians will pick it up, and then sometimes they pass laws against it. That, oh, this is actually harmful. The way the world has gone, it's so confusing today that nowhere in history have we ever been confused about a human being. Has the human ever been confused that what shade of gender I am? There's even confusion of how many genders you could be. It's not even just 2 or 3. There's multiple. There's one school close to our house where I used to live. It's a girls' school. One of the girls in there thinks she is a cat. She thinks she is a cat. So you have to respect that. So when the teacher asks her a question, she says meow. So now, how are you supposed to deal with that? But because we're living in a postmodern world, postmodernism means that there's not one truth, there's multiple truths. You can have your truth, I can have my truth, I can think what I think is correct, and you can think what you think is correct, and you can think what you think is correct, and everybody sitting here can think what is, as long as it's not harm anybody else, fine, you can have your own truths. Very, very confusing. We're living in this world, and I feel sorry for our children because they're the most confused when they're given these options in front of them. We have many parents, at least in the West, who until the age of 5 or 6, they say we're not going to make we're going to buy them gender neutral clothing, because when they grow old enough to make their own decision, they can decide. So right now we'll treat them as in between somewhere, or however they think. And then what we will do is, when they get old enough, they can decide, oh, I want to be this, or I want to try this out for 1 week. I'll try it out for 1 week. This is where, I mean, this may not be something in our homes. Right? So, this is just one level of confusion. That's why we don't deny technology, we use technology. But what we have to start doing is we have to start understanding that technology should not govern us. Because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to control us, meaning that's how they make money. So it's designed for us to be as far as possible, as long as possible on the game, on the social activity, on the reels, on the tweets, on the shorts, on the TikTok, because you just never stop. It's a huge mind game. So that's why we can't forget who we are and what our purpose is. And our purpose is that we need to worry about being productive in this world. And being productive in a way that's beneficial, because for Muslims we have a hereafter. We're not limited to this world. So for us, it's not like just do as much as you can in the world in the next 40, 50, 60, 70 years. Try to make as much money as possible. Try to gain as much fame as possible. There's a number of people who will try to find a name for their child so that they can become the next hero. So the name must be conducive to that. So they think of names like that. I mean, you have somebody who calls his name X. His children, one child is called X. Now I'm just wondering what's in the mind, what goes on in the mind, what kind of a mind is this person coming from? We think it's interesting, we think it's quirky. A lot of people who are into this, who don't see it from outside, they look at it from inside. They think this is really interesting, and then that's why you have to step away for a while. If you don't step away, you will never understand it, because you become institutionalized. When it's around you, because I get to travel quite a lot, I realize how sometimes I can miss something. So I give you an example. I was in one area and I moved to another area, another country actually. And in that country, when we were having some conversation, मुकालमा हो रहा था, बस एक गुफ्तगू हो रही थी, तो वो किसी के बारे में था, तो जो बंदे वहाँ बैठे हुए थे वो रुक गए, आगे कुछ बात उन्होंने नहीं की। तो अगर यही गुफ्तगू वो दूसरी कम्युनिटी में अगर हो रही होती तो वहाँ पूरी ग़ीबत हो जाती। यहाँ इन्होंने आगे कुछ बात नहीं की, बस हम आगे नहीं बात कर सकते हैं। तो मैंने इसका जायज़ा लिया। In the first community, the religious people as well, but the reason they speak about this, or they would have done the ghibat and backbiting, is because they're used to it. It's become a socially accepted phenomenon. कोई उसको बुरा नहीं समझता है. So it's okay to do it, even though it's wrong. When I went to the other community, they stopped, and I was wondering like why. Well, so I realized the difference, and I realized maybe I'm like this as well. Wallahu a'lam. So hopefully I learned from this. That's why it's Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi. He said you should travel because in traveling there's multiple benefits. One of them is that your akhlaq will become better. How does your akhlaq become better? Because sometimes in certain communities, certain things are accepted, even though they're actually ugly, but they're okay there. I remember one community I went to, which is very close to me, but I don't live there. And I'm sitting with the Maulana, and he's got a driver, and the way he's speaking to the driver, Abhi, idhar chale jao. Idhar ruk. Now, we would never speak like this, but there it's acceptable. That's how you speak to your driver. That's how you speak to your driver. Because everybody speaks like that, you speak like this. So that's why it's very important to realize what it is, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a deen, He's given us the sunnah, He's given us the Quran. So if we have to constantly update ourselves, because there's no culture which is 100%. In this world today, I don't think there's any culture which is 100%. Every culture, there's the good and bad. If it's a Muslim culture, it will have some really good points, but then it will also have some of the problematic points. Every culture has this, right? So what we need to do is to try to find the best points and then to correct the bad points. We celebrate our good points and we reject and we try to change our bad points. So, speaking specifically about sisters, it's very difficult to speak about sisters when you got so many men in front of you. Because when you see the men, then you want to speak about men, because I can see you, I can't see the sisters. So I think I should speak to a wall, so I can focus that I'm speaking to women. Otherwise I feel I'm going to ignore you. So it's okay if I ignore you for a while, right?
They'll get opportunities there.
Huh?
They'll get more opportunities.
लेकिन यहाँ आ गए तो फिर मुझे बुरा लगता है. Yeah. तो next time आप मुझे एक छोटे से कमरे में मैं दीवार से बात करूँगा. Inshallah. Just joking. Inshallah. Jazakallah. It's actually difficult to talk to a wall. You see, I would say Bangalore is a bit like London. In a village, usually what people are doing is already fixed. There's a tartib, there's a certain day routine, and it doesn't change much because people are living close to one another. All the relatives are living very close to one another. Calm din aise hi guzar jata hai. But in a city, especially for our sisters and especially for our religious sisters, it becomes very difficult. There are multiple challenges. So within our sisters, we have those who are professional and who work. Then there are those who are not professional, they're just housewives only, right? They're performing a major function for our society, which is bringing up the next generation. Then we've got some who are trying to juggle both. You got some who have who've studied, who want to do a job, but they also have children, and all three of these have their own challenges. What happens sometimes to the sisters who are just at home, and then their children start going to school, for example, they'll have several hours. And if they don't have many other things to do, they start getting bored. And then what do? So a lot of people end up wasting time, because you've got the TV, you've got the mobile phone, the cell phone, so you end up wasting a lot of time, and then you don't feel good about it. That's the problem. It doesn't make you feel good. You just time pass hota hai. Right? So what should a woman like that do? What's the advice for her? This is something I've been thinking for a while, because we get a lot of questions from women. And sometimes, or many times, the question is because they don't have much. They're very active with their children first when their children are younger. When they have to send them to school, then they have several hours of free time. Pakana maybe 1 hour. Then what do? Cleaning maybe another hour. Then you still have 4 or 5 hours. So shaitan is after every one of us, wherever we are. Shaitan hamare piche pada hai. So then they start having bad ideas and they start having issues and things like that. My advice to these women, right, and this is something I've discussed with other women, I've discussed with my wife, we've had lots of conversations, right? I'm not saying that this is the only thing, but if you have any ideas you can let us do, is you need to have a hobby. You need to have either a hobby, you can do a home-based business, you can sell through, online. There's lots of things you can do, right? You can go and volunteer somewhere. There must be a local organization जहाँ आप जाके वॉलंटियर कर सकते हैं कि हम I will give you 3 hours a day, कुछ हमें अच्छा काम दो, you'll feel much more fulfilled. उसमें you'll feel fulfilled कि हम कुछ कर रहे हैं. And there won't be an idle mind. Right? So you have to have a personal hobby. You have to have a network where you do some studies. That's another thing. Get some, if there's classes going on somewhere, आप जाके class लो and you'll get hooked. हमने जो classes शुरू किए थे, मेरे ख्याल में यहाँ भी कुछ ऐसे classes चल रहे हैं. तो हमने जो classes वहाँ शुरू किए थे, they were for 2 years for women. इससे कि मस्जिद सुबह को खाली थी. जहाँ मैं इमाम था वहाँ मस्जिद खाली थी. तो हमने सोचा था कि ये खाली है तो हम कुछ इसमें क्लासेस शुरू कर दें. So we started some classes for women in the daytime. They're not working women. Their children go to school here, they're farig. So alhamdulillah, we had maybe 20-25 students, to start a small community. After 2 years, they did not want to leave. They said, हमें एक और साल में कुछ निसाब बना दे, another syllabus for 1 more year. Okay, 3rd year. After that, they still didn't want to leave. They stayed for 7 years. Yes, we had 1 or 2 dropouts, but the bulk of them, they stayed for 7 years. It's like the maza you get in learning more is amazing, because no longer are you just making things up or basing your thoughts and ideas on what you've heard or what is cultural only, but you're getting solid knowledge of what Islam says about this historical time, what it says about Aqidah, what should be our beliefs, what should be our fiqh, how the marriage life should be. All of that is being discussed. So I guarantee anybody who starts this, they will get hooked on this. Ignorance is a massive problem. This is what causes most of the disputes and problems and chaos in the world. So that's another suggestion. I mean, we have a very short amount of time, otherwise we could just speak about education for 1 hour. So as I said, go and study something. Go and have a hobby, a productive hobby. Right? If you have ideas, we can share the ideas. Number 3, maybe start a little business where you're selling something online. Bilkul parde ke saath, you can do this. On the phone, you're ordering things, you're selling things. I don't know, can you sell things on Amazon here? Amazon, eBay, pata nahi is tarah ki kuch aur sites hogi na, right? You can do that. There's many women who are doing a lot of business like this, mashallah. Number 4, go and find some place to volunteer. Koi idara ho local, koi acha. It could be anything, humanitarian, local. Go and spend some time doing that there. Make your time useful. Make your time useful. Cities are places where there's a lot of depression, because it's a fast-paced life. Everything is busy. Everything takes half an hour, 1 hour. It's not 2 minutes, idhar udhar. That's why there's a lot of time wasted. We need to be productive in that time. So that's for the women who are at home. Now those who are career oriented, my advice, very politely, very humbly, is that La ilaha illallah. In Islam, there is no career even for men. So this is not about men or women. I was once in a conference, and the discussion was about alims and alimas, right? And one of the people, they asked, who is an alima we can follow? So I mentioned a few examples. They said they're not online. They're not on YouTube. They're not on Twitter. Said they're doing calm in their own areas. Wonderful work. MashaAllah, wonderful work. Do we need them online? He said, no, that's not what it's for. They're doing enough locally. They don't need to be online. They can't deal with the world. That's not what, that's not even appropriate for them. That's not what they want to do. So then the discussion was that women, even in Islam, there's nothing as a career. Hum jo bhi kaam karte hain, we do to earn a living, to help somebody with. So one thing is that talabu kasbil halali faridatun ba'da faridatun. This hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that after the faraid, jo hum jante hain faraid yani namaz, zakat वगैरह, ये तो फराइज है ही. उसके बाद एक दूसरा फर्ज है मर्दों पर, वो ये है कि कमाएं आप, right? So that you don't beg, you're not waiting for handouts, राइट? ज़कात का सिस्टम है हमारे पास, लेकिन असल तो ये है कि खुद की कमाई से आप काम करो. So now the idea is that that's a fard, to earn a living. So that's not a career. I'm a public speaker and I'm an international traveler. These things, I don't call that my career. If I call that my career, it becomes too restricted. That becomes my main focus, and it's not my main focus. Inshallah, Allah make it like that. Is to please Allah, fulfill my obligation of what Allah has given me, to use that, and I'm happy that Allah is using. Allah Ta'ala give me sincerity. So how is that a career? I know it's a bit about definitions here. We're arguing about a definition, but the Western concept of a career, I'm trying to say, right, is that no, we do things for an ultimate purpose. That's why when we teach our children, we don't say, "Aapko doctor banna hai." No. He can become a doctor, no problem. You want to make him a big businessman, no problem. But what do you want to be? I want to help people and myself. I want to do better. I want to make this world a better place. I want to take people to paradise. That's a higher motive. And in that you can be a doctor, a good doctor, and help people. In that you can be a good lawyer. In that you can be a good caterer. In that you could be whatever you want to be. But that is only part of a bigger dream, part of a bigger idea. Why should we focus on I just want to be a doctor? No, I want to do something bigger. I want to help people. I want to be productive. I don't want to be a waste man. I don't want to just earn a lot of money for myself and enjoy my life and have a big car. I'll have all of that, no problem. You can have all of that, but not for the purpose of having that only. That's just something you use. That is only something you need, so you get something comfortable and you use it. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. If apne kaam mein aapko, you need like the top phone because it's it's more productive, go and get it. But not because you can show everybody I've got this. There's certain phone manufacturers, they have done such a good job, mashallah, that people feel proud to have that phone for the purpose of that phone. That's silly. If the phone works for you, then fine, enjoy it. But not because it's a status symbol. I saw my brother using a phone. My phone was 4 years old and it was still working. मैं भी चलाता. But I saw my brother using this new Samsung phone. It's ये बड़ी screen इसके अंदर है, right? This fold. So I thought this, because when you're traveling, you need to do some work. You need to read, kitab. It's much easier on here. It's like you have more real estate, right? That's why I bought it. Otherwise, I would never buy it. Not because I can show off now with it. Kaisa phone hai, mashallah. That's just silly, stupid. Because what are you doing that for? That's why career is not what it is. At the end of the day, we're trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Logo se tareefein to milegi, right? That can come. But the main thing we want to do is, what can I do that I can take with me to the hereafter? Feel fulfilled. Do you feel fulfilled? The problem with, today or after Jummah, I said, "Oh, I'm your fan." I said, "I don't like fans." Kabhi fan ki zarurat padti hai, wo nahi hota hai. The fan, when you're hot sometimes you don't have it. So just say student. Fan is a modern concept. You get excited by somebody, right? I respect everybody, but I'm just trying to say that you want to be a fan, you don't want to be a fan, because fans are those who, that's why a lot of these people who are fans, these singers, they die early. Have you noticed that? They have everything, and then suddenly they've committed suicide. 28 years old, they committed suicide. She was the best singer in the world. He was the best Korean singer and everybody's crying over him, but he died when he was 28, 32. Like, why? You've got everything that everybody else is looking for. To have those millions of fans, I have, maybe 100,000 on YouTube, and I'm scared because you don't want to be known everywhere. Uska ek fayda to hai. But then there's also a responsibility. You have to be at your best behavior. You have to and then I listen to some of these interviews. with these stars. I do this for my fans. Ajib. I do this for my fans. What is that? Why would you do something for your fans? So if your fans want something, then you do that. No, you should be laying down the agenda of what's right, and that's a true leader. Influencers, their leadership is a really strange phenomenon. Again, this is only 5-10 years old. So we don't know how this is. People are discussing these things. Anyway, baat kahin aur chali gayi. The main thing that I'm trying to say is that even for men, our purpose is not career. Yes, you can become a big tech guy. You can become one of the best software engineers. You want to start a big company, no problem. But you have to have a higher idea behind it. What do I want to do with this? I'll do it, then what? I have to make that as part of a bigger idea, bigger vision. Because they're human beings and our life in this world is temporary, then eventually we're going to get in the hereafter. How can I use this same tech field that I am becoming good at, that I want to win over, how can I use that in the hereafter? How can I benefit from that in the hereafter? You can benefit in that by, mashallah, there's some local, they're making apps for organizations, for religious organizations. You can make a lot of money and donate. You can contribute your know-how, your professionalism, your skill set to those who need it. Multiple ways of doing that. So those who are professional, remember, especially for sisters, men have to work because they have to provide for the family. The sisters are not required to work. But I'm not against women working either. Sometimes they have to work because they're in a single family or because their husband can't make enough, or there's a reason. Kabhi majboori hoti hai. In other cases, they've got a skill they want to use. But don't forget your main obligation. What is the main obligation? When I say obligation, I mean what is your main role? The main role for women. And again, I'm saying this not in a way to say drop everything, but in a way that you must realize your main, what Allah has given you, is to bring up the next generation. Is to have children and bring up the next generation. Who can deny that? Even a number of countries who pushed out the women into the workforce, and then they realize that their population declines. That's why they have to bring immigrants. Even India, which was having a massive demographic explosion 20 years ago, they were worried how they're going to, the rates have come down. Because even Muslims aren't having children. We're not saying have 10 children, but even Muslims, they're having children late. People are getting married late. They're having children late. And unfortunately for both men and women, especially for women, there's an expiry date. Expiry date hoti hai. After that, biologically, the system starts shutting down. The system is less conducive for for bringing a child into this world. So what, are we going against our nature just to make money for someone else? A lot of the time, we're just working for someone else. We're serving them tea. We're doing whatever they want to do, but we don't know how to do that to our personal relationships with the husband, with the wife. We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to live with that. You learn customer service. All of these professional companies have training for good customer service, workplace etiquette. But there's no etiquette at home. You come home and you just release all of your frustration. You have to be at your best behavior at your work, and when you come home, then no holds barred. So let's not forget this. Let us not forget this. Try to be the best in everything. There's nothing wrong with working, as I said, as long as it's halal environment and you have a higher motive. And as I said, women do get bored because if they don't have much else to do, they can have a hobby, they can do work. But don't forget your prime child rearing years, childbearing years. You don't want to lose that. Otherwise, if you look at the history of feminism, right, there's some aspects of feminism which were obviously very good and pure, which was that women were being persecuted, were being oppressed, and then it's just become a bigger issue afterwards. It's become a problem afterwards, because one of the very prominent feminists of 20 years ago, who decided not to have children, who tried to be on equal footing in their marriage, now they have no children, they're over 40. Right now they're over 40 and they've had a divorce and they are lonely. Because in the West there's no strong family system either, right? Everybody becomes independent. So now what happens is they don't have children, they're over 40, and the human body after 40, especially for women, it needs somebody else. They're less likely now to have children. They're crying over their unborn child. That was their statement. What's the word? I forget the exact word. I'm lamenting over my unborn children. Because they've lost their 20 years of child rearing. That's feminism. So a lot of these things, they move beyond what's necessary and they go into these ideologies until they become a problematic aspect. So I think, as I've explained, we've discussed we've discussed for those women who are stay at home, they find something to do. Those who want to pursue some kind of work or vocation, as I call it, to earn something, to have a higher motive in what you do. And priorities. Priorities are very important. For the wife, priority must be the husband, the children, very important, and the household. Then they can do whatever else they want to do. Husband, their priority, we also tell husbands, they're over the top in doing work. They don't invest in their marriage. They're too much into their work, so they come home late. Or they have meetings in the night. Right? Because these companies will, they say the big ones, they'll suck you in. They will suck you in. Right? They will try to get everything out of you by offering you perks and things. This is the new system. Right? They want to make you feel, because they give you a cell phone, they give you a few perks here, they give you nice food and so on, so you feel like you must contribute more. It's a very competitive system. I want to rise to this position or that position. And you neglect your family. Your wife is waiting for you in the evening and she falls asleep because you came late. By the way, this can happen in anything. It can even happen in ilm. So this is not just something of the workplace. If there's an alim who is very research oriented, so he's just constantly looking at his kitabs, and his wife is in the other room waiting for him, he's just looking at kitabs. Just like somebody is constantly on his mobile watching soccer or cricket or YouTube, and his wife waiting. So even if you are neglecting your family because you're looking too much at kitabs, that's a problem. The fitna is everywhere. This is shaitan wanting to, because a family is important, because if you don't have a stable family, you can't have stable children. If you can't have stable children, then the community, then these children are going to grow up, the next generation is going to be troubled, unstable. So this is not just for women, but the women do have a bigger role, because they've been given biologically, they are the ones who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made, right? They're the ones who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the mothers of the next generation. So let us not forget that. So both husband and wives should work together in this regard. And I said these are just big ideas that I spoke about, some meta ideas. And of course, there's lots of questions that will be in between, but our time is up. And I'm going to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that for those women who are stay at home, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them a way of doing khidmah of the deen, khidmah of people, and using their time productively. For those who are in an occupation, Allah give them good occupations, but Allah allow the balance. Allah allow them to be balanced and to have a higher purpose and to fulfill the obligation of their family, which is what their primary occupation should be. And they should not look down upon that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here if our mothers did not pay attention to us. Right? So that's very, very important. What I can't understand in the West, except the cases where it's they don't have a choice, is that the mother goes out to work, she drops the child caring, and our child caring is very expensive. Very expensive. So they give the majority, unless they got some crazy paying job. If it's a standard job, they'll give the majority of that, but they're doing the work. And somebody else bringing up their child. They're literally paying somebody about 2/3 or 3/4 of what they're making to bring up their children. In some cases. It's a bit crazy, isn't it? Just so I can say that I have worked this many years in this company, or I've reached this position. So what we usually say, what we usually provide guidance is that when your children, you have to sacrifice, the biggest years of sacrifice are from when your children are born until they're about 12, 13 years old. Then after that it becomes easier, because the children now have a routine and it becomes easier for you to manage them. Otherwise until 12, 13 is very, and then the teenage years are a bit more complicated, brings different challenges. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy, and may Allah grant us success, may Allah give us a good vision, a pious vision, a righteous vision, and Allah allow us to be the best at everything that we do. And Allah bless us in it so that we can do it in less time and we have our priorities correctly. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.